My moment of motivation is going to be pretty short and sweet, and it's about everything being possible and the things that we put into our head and the people's that we surround ourselves with. I want you to think about success and how you define it. First, the question I want to ask you is how to be successful, right? One of the things that my grandmother used to always tell me to do is make sure you get around successful people. Be around the people that have what you want. And she would also say the person with the fastest copy machine will have the most success. Now, you can learn from unsuccessful people as well. Take notes from both, right? You want to take notes from the negatives and the positives. On the negative, she said she would call it's what not to do, right? Now, you have to learn what not to do as well as what to do in order for you to be successful in whatever path you decide to go down. One of the best one-liners and advice I'd ever heard, and this is from someone who said, if you wanted to make a lot of money, you absolutely can learn from unsuccessful people. He said, find out, if you said you want to make a lot of money, find out what poor people read and don't read it. Jim Rohn said that. Another great line that I love from someone who has amazing quotes is, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. That's Henry Ford. Now, another great speaker said this, and I heard him say this over and over again. He said, if you buy into someone's opinions, you buy into their lifestyle, their results, and their outcomes. So be careful where you pull your belief system from. Les Brown. Now, one of my favorite speakers and in the whole world, who is also responsible for bringing Les Brown to the West Coast, and is one of his great friends, has said about 3 different things to me that I carry with me all the time. And one of them is, she would always say to me, Jameela, some people don't know that they don't know. And she would say, that will be really, really left, or it could be really, really right. Either way, it could be a good thing or a bad thing. She would also say is, the second thing that she would say to me that I've taken with me everywhere is, and she would candidly say this, Jameela, just because they make it in your size don't mean you're supposed to wear it. And the third thing is, always make sure your undergarments match. You never know if something might happen to you. You don't want to distract the paramedics from saving your life. That quote is from my grandmother, and I have a true story to share with you. I'd gotten really, really sick one time at a campus, and I'm not going to tell you what happened because it would totally gross you out. But I think Andy was actually on the phone a few years ago when that happened to me. Paramedics had to be called to the campus that I was working on. We were like in this major ops call, and we had to stop the call, and they had to come and get me. And I remember being carried down to the medical assistant room, and I'm laying on the table, and when the paramedics got there, and I'm totally not a crier, I started bawling, crying. And he was like, are you crying? He was like, are you okay? Are you crying because you're in pain? And I said, no, I'm not in pain, but my undergarments don't match. So the moral to that story is, my grandmother always say, if you stay ready, you never have to get ready. So what are my takeaway from all of these things? Be careful where you draw your belief system. You don't go to the dentist for legal advice. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes ignorance on fire is better than intelligence on ice. And again, if you stay ready, you never have to get ready. So what do I mean by all that? We all have people in our lives that are our biggest cheerleaders, right? But we also have people that are naysayers. And sometimes our naysayers are the people who love us the most. And I thought about all of these things because that's where I kind of associate that with our students. Sometimes the people who love them the most are telling them they can't do this. And then they get on the phone with us, and we're the first people to tell them that they can. So I say all of this to say is, what we have been faced with, and sometimes they appear to be impossible. We will all be faced with things that other people were not successful at, yet they want to give us their opinion about it. So when you have a student on the phone and they say, well, you know, my husband says I shouldn't get my PhD. Your next question should be well, what is his PhD in? Because if he doesn't have one, why are you going to him for advice? Really want to think about that. But what if? What if none of that matters? What if you knew that you couldn't fail? I want to share a story with you. And it's a really short story, and I love this story because I refer to it all the time when I start thinking things are impossible. 2 young boys were skating on ice when all of a sudden one of them fell through and got trapped under the ice. His friend started to punch the ice in hopes of breaking it, but could not get through. In desperation, the friend climbed a tree and broke off a branch. He came back down the tree and started smashing the ice, eventually breaking it and miraculously saving his friend. As emergency services came after the boy was safe, they sat in amazement and wondered how the little boy was able to break off the branch, smash the ice, and save his friend. And as they were sharing this amazement, an old man walked up because he happened to be on the sideline watching everything. And he said the boy was able to do it because there was no one here to tell him that he couldn't. So I want you to think about the things that you want to do in life. And if you didn't know you couldn't fail, how far would you be right now? So, my name is Jameela Frierson. I serve students as a director of admissions, and that was my moment of motivation.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.